Statistics will tell you that about 90% of rapists would go scot-free.
I wouldn't want to join those who blame these things on alcohol. It must first come to your head. Alcohol doesn't suddenly give you ideas.
Do you agree that the usage of substances facilitates situations like rape?
Substance abuse and the likes, it increases your chances of being vulnerable, and being vulnerable means that you can be subjected to circumstances outside your control. So quite a number of the persons who perpetrate such acts make sure that the victim gets drunk to a level first. These things actually hamper your ability to respond to dangerous situations.
Within the year 2020 and I think 2023, the severity of rape cases jumped from about 23% to about 64%. That's like
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria, yes. So it just tells you that there is a lot of orientation that really needs to go down. And I think that there is so much more justice system needs to do.
What were you doing under the bridge by 9 p.m.? As a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, your safety should be guaranteed by the government. Where you were, what you drank, who you were hanging out with, should not suffice as an excuse for rape. So if someone calls me and says, look, I've just been raped, the next thing we need to do is to preserve the evidence, right? So first things first, we need documentary evidence, we need real evidence, and other forms of evidence that we can present before a court of competent jurisdiction.
Okay. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Unpack It podcast. Always a great privilege to have you, tune in and, join these conversations. Thank you so much. You are super fantastic. Without further ado, today we'll be discussing and having an interesting conversation primarily. And with me, I have the one and only barrister, the law. The law, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Okay, so why were you not smiling? Why were you trying to?
No, it's always my thing, so I prefer to frown.
So one saw one of your videos and was saying that, why is he aura farming?
Are you serious? Who said that? Why serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Alright,
I said this guy, the aura farm.
Which of the videos are big?
I think it was the very first one you were on.
That one I was even feeling very,
He said you did aura farm. I say, my guy.
Never start, so make it go come.
Make it come. All right, solid. So today we'll be having an amazing conversation. I will be talking about, the all recent situations around rape, gender-based violence, and a couple of things, right? But we're looking at it from the perspective of the law, looking at it from the perspective of, mental health, and looking at it from the perspective of agencies as well, just to see how that we can unpack situations and try to unfold things that are not as much. So we're not trying to push controversies or anything, but we want to learn and unpack conversations appropriately. So to give brief explanation to those who might not be fully armed with the information, as to say, or be informed, we're looking at particularly case study of Mirabel, the young lady who in the past few weeks came out and made a video talking about how that she was raped in her apartment. A couple of things in that video. She spoke about how she was initially under the influence of alcohol and probably other substances that made her high at the time. But the reason why she took that, according to that video, was because she deals or suffers from insomnia, and I mean she can't sleep primarily. And she took that, all those substances the morning. And so while she was drowsy and trying to sleep on a Sunday morning, the supposed accused individual who committed the crime came in, and then, the crime was committed. And also in the process, she had a lot of, injuries, or a couple of injuries, with a focus on how that she had a tear with a razor blade. But interestingly, after the video has taken rounds online and everybody has heard the story back and forth, she later came back to say that, yo guys, it was a lie. Everything I've been saying,
Yeah.
None of it was true. And, people just have a lot of things to say about it. But I would like us to really, delve deep into these matters and see different, areas to it and how
Yeah.
it affects us as a society at large, and as well how it affects, our mental well-being, and generally people to learn from this. But let me ask you first, when you heard about the story, when you saw the story, what came to mind?
Yeah. When I heard about the story, I was unsettled. I was trying to fathom how a human being created by God would go as far as, unleashing so much pain and fury on a fellow human. And especially, when she also said she was caught, and, so I was enraged, like, what's going on?
What?
What's this? What's going on? And for me, when something happens, I like to be one of those who want to do something about it. And so I thought about it. I said, okay, fine. So, what can I do about it? Can I reach out to this girl to offer legal services? Okay, fine. So, let me hear the story. What are the facts? Let's see how we can get justice, right?
Yeah.
But before I did that, I have a friends group chat, and I texted them and said, oh, have you guys heard about this story? Deeply enraged. This shouldn't be happening. And for me, the critical part about it was that, oh, you know, it was from the storyline that she gave initially. The person was audacious enough to even text her
Oh
and,
yeah.
allude to the commission of the offense. And, he added that nothing would happen. And that was what got my interest. Like, what do you mean by nothing will happen? Something would happen. Yeah, so that was how I felt. I was
Just
taken
very
aback by the
enraged.
story.
Yeah, from what you just said, looking from that last line, while I also watched the video, I was very,
Yeah,
very pissed. It was so, I mean, I couldn't bring myself to watch it initially. I
yeah,
felt so sad. It was it was really, really sad. But then I had to like go back and actually watch it,
yeah,
because people were saying a lot of things, and I feel like a lot of people were. It now became some sort of like gender war where
yeah,
it's not supposed to be, actually, because if you
yeah,
look at statistics of men who are actually going through the same, who are victims of rape, you'll be
yeah,
surprised. But it's just that the society construct around some of these things is crazy.
yeah,
But we'll come back to that. But statistics will tell you that about 90% of rapists, yeah, would go scot free. Yeah. Looking at that statistics, or in fact, 90% have gone scot free. I think, let me
okay.
rephrase, according to, the
So
Nigerian Bureau of
yeah, so if
Statistics.
they've gone scot free, so would like to say alleged rapists,
Alleged, okay,
Yeah, because
alleged
only
rapists,
a court
because
of
there are no
competent
proof.
jurisdiction can pronounce them as guilty of rape, and as such, you can now tag them as a rapist.
Rapists.
But if a court has not declared them so, then they are not.
Okay,
Yes, they are
very
innocent
good.
until proven otherwise.
Und- Interesting. So I like that we need to
Yeah,
use the right terms to
exactly.
address
Mm,
people, and that was what I was going to come to, in terms of like, but maybe we shouldn't start with that yet, in terms
yeah.
of the agencies and
Oh yeah.
education as to all of these constructs
Yeah.
generally. But let's look at it from, I want to pick it first from the aspect of the drug misuse and abuse
Yeah.
that this young lady was under. There are a number of factors as to it. Now that we realize that it was a lie,
Yeah.
but even before that time, was it right or is it right for someone, by the law, right? Now we know that
Yeah.
people will tell you, oh, by your health, by medicals,
Yeah.
is not right. It's not. So by the law, is it right for someone to be under the use or under the influence of drugs or substances?
I think it's a mere question of morality, because there's no law preventing anybody from using alcohol, taking legal pharmaceutical drugs, right? However, overdose, underdose, abuse, or whatsoever. But when it comes to consumption of alcohol, as long as the said person is above the legal age of 18, right, they have the right to take alcohol, and as long as they don't constitute public nuisance from their behavior, from taking alcohol and other things. So it's not really anybody's, business. but it's just a moral construct when it comes to alcohol consumption and other forms of drug abuse. Although there are other regulations against drug abuse and campaigns by medical practitioners and um, other regulations in that field concerning
Yeah.
the
The
adverse effects of drug abuse, underusage, overusage, overdose, and all those things. But when it comes to consumption of alcohol and stuff, it's actually like at individual discretion and is left to the moral whims and caprices of anybody who is examining the situation. So, in my opinion, she has the liberty to use alcohol. I mean, as long as she's over the she's 18
above. I mean,
plus.
she's 17 in this case.
Well, that's another issue altogether. So the truth of the matter is that in as much as alcohol is should be consumed by persons above the age of 18, there is little to no enforcement as to who buys, who consumes, who takes alcohol, right? So you see that that's a very huge gap, and it's in the market, it's in the open market. Anybody, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, right, could access those things. So
Well,
I'm not even surprised that she's having alcohol.
quite. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in terms of the age and
Yeah,
everything. But being moderate and being clear on these
yeah.
things are very important. And in one way or the other, would you agree that the usage of these, substances facilitates situations like this, like rape, beyond even Mirabel's case, but on a general note?
So, well, this is a very dicey issue, because when it comes to the use of alcohol, there are several schools of thoughts to it. So, there are persons who believe that alcohol doesn't suddenly give you ideas. Alcohol is an expression of an idea you already had prior to that time, and it just gives you the boldness, to do
To
it.
execute.
So probably there's a chance that, I mean, so if alcohol made you fantasize, right? Why fantasize about rape? Because in my opinion, that was a fantasy. You know, yeah, like you fantasized about it, and that was a lengthy message, right? If you saw it was a lengthy message, it was like not even one paragraph, a lot of it. So you sat down, probably under the influence, we can't say, because we have no way of proving that she was under the influence when those things were written and posted. She only said, oh, she normally use drugs. I mean, that's something out of a storybook, a
Yeah.
fictional material, and that's the expression of your fantasy in something weird, something inhuman. And I wouldn't want to join those who blame these things on alcohol. It must first come to your head. If I was to get drunk, right, I'm most likely going to speak a lot of English because I love speaking English ordinarily.
Yeah.
I'm most likely going to, maybe goof around, because these are things that are already in it,
Right.
but has been given expression by the virtue of my consumption of alcohol. So when we see these things playing out, and so she was under the influence. But I mean, I can't prove it because I'm not a medical practitioner, right? I can't say whether alcohol gives new ideas or alcohol, but those are just schools of thoughts.
Around it.
Those are just schools of thoughts. And when it comes to you know substance abuse and the likes, it increases your chances of being vulnerable. And being vulnerable means that you can be subjected to circumstances outside your control. So if ordinarily, you are sane, you are normal, you all your senses are working as they should, and an ugly circumstance is about to unfold, it increases your chances of escaping or eluding an attacker or eluding an alleged or eluding someone who wants to, compromise your sexuality,
Yeah.
right? And when you're under the influence, your reaction time is slower, your ability to respond is slower, you might be carried away. It's easy for you to get mixed, in circumstances when you're under the influence. So these things actually hamper your ability to respond to dangerous situations. So imagine someone is tipsy and so she said it sedates her, right?
Yeah.
So she said consumption of alcohol puts her to sleep. So definitely she's consumed alcohol, she's already drowsy, sleepy, and
And then
something's about to happen. How do you respond,
you lost
right?
all your senses and
You get,
abilities.
but this is not me blaming anything on alcohol, right? I'm saying, and I'm of the view that no matter who anyone is, no matter your state of mind, no matter how you feel in the circumstance, no matter if you're, it doesn't matter if your behaviors and activities are being influenced by substances, right? Nobody deserves to be taken advantage of sexually or otherwise.
Otherwise, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we are this podcast is sponsored by Access Life Foundation that is focused on combating drug misuse and
Yeah,
abuse. And while it's not priority,
yeah,
of many of the reasons why we push these things are simply because so you don't find yourself in situations as this.
yeah.
So you shouldn't be in a party or in a public space. Now this is again outside the context of Mirabelle.
Yeah, so just to add that,
Yeah.
just to add to it, and you will notice that a number of, or quite a number of sexual abuse that goes on at parties, right? The the attackers or the persons who perpetrate such acts make sure that the victim gets drunk to a level first.
For easy
Exactly, it makes it easier for these things to happen.
for this is of here.
They make you, or put something in your drink, or just to affect your physical
Cognitive,
behavior or
yeah.
cognitive behavior at that material time. So there is a relationship between these things, right? So I just wanted to add
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's very, very important. So, continuing from where you stopped, it is part of the many reasons why we advocate against it.
Yeah,
Why should you handicap yourself, particularly when you know you are in an environment that really, really does not 100% support your safety?
yeah.
Do you understand? Again, we are not saying
It's
this
an
youth room is an
excuse. No,
excuse
it's
for
not.
the. It's not an
Exactly.
excuse, but as part of it, I mean, why should you be in a situation where you cry when you can,
Protect
protect
yourself.
yourself 100%? But yeah, you were saying something about fantasies, and,
Yeah,
I want to bring it back to the next point, which has been a debate round and round,
yeah,
and I want us to look into the legal aspect of things, and as well as outside of legal, right? People are saying that this young lady should be punished. She should be rebuked. She
yeah,
should have a level of
yeah,
don't do that again.
yeah,
While you have not accused anyone,
yeah,
yeah, we understand that if these fantasies, like because I believe that a part of this whole thing
yeah,
started from a single thought, which must have brewed from
yeah.
fantasies, and which I believe also is because of things she has seen, things she has been hearing,
Since she
and
has read,
she has read,
since she has watched.
watched exactly. So we're going to come back to that,
Yeah,
and I want us to talk about how that agencies have a real role play to play,
yeah,
particularly in the world of social media. But now let's look at the fantasies of all of these things, particularly to the question of saying should she be punished? Because sincerely, if you look at everything, how do you sit down and draft an entire end to end
and
script
ethics too. That's a lot.
of saying that you want to do this? Some people would come out, psychologists to say, oh, yada yada yada. For someone to be under the influence of drugs, alcohol at the age of 17, and and a couple of other things. While it's really, really, acknowledged, she was under drugs, she's 17, she's dealing with insomnia. Like it really tells you that there's a lot of mental health, unfit around there. She's not fit mentally. There's something wrong somewhere, and need to consider that as well. But also understanding that there are a lot of fantasies that has led to this thing. Should she be punished? Should she have a level of, um, you know,
So personally, I don't subscribe to preferring punitive solutions to psychological problems. I feel the first step is a proper psychological evaluation, right? It's not normal that a 17-year-old fantasizes or thinks. I think fantasy is too far. It's my assumption that she fantasized. But let's put it at think, because we can prove that she thought about that, right?
yeah,
So it's not normal for a 17-year-old, right, to think about things like that and be bold enough
to execute.
to publish them online, right? It's not normal for a 17-year-old to solve her insomnia with alcohol. So it gives rise to a lot of contemplative issues that may surround her current existence. So, first things first, medical evaluation, mental evaluation. What's wrong with this person, right? Then, proper psychological solutions can be preferred. Probably put her on medications, try to understand what's going on, right? So, until that has been done,
Yeah.
no punitive measures, in my opinion, should be preferred.
Okay. So, well, I agree with you.
Yeah,
As someone that has a background in psychology and
yeah,
has an understanding of mental health issues and all of that. But when I was thinking of it in my head, I was like,
yeah.
okay, she should be put under some sort of correctional home. She should be placed in under
A correctional
cognitive and
facility.
correctional facility, a cognitive and behavioral therapy sessions, because I believe that there is a lot of reconditioning,
Yeah,
mental reconditioning that should go on with her. But now, this is the reason why some people would say, "Yo, she should be punished," and I just want us to look at that
yeah,
aspect, is because they feel like I mentioned, they tell you that a huge chunk of people, a large percentage, I don't have by the facts,
yeah,
would not speak up on rape issues. Victims, a lot of victims, are not speaking up due to a number of reasons that we'll still unpack later on.
yeah,
But concerning this right now, number of victims will not speak up. Punishing her gives further makes actual victims not speak up. Do you think that is right? Can we weigh the options and look at it?
Well, so I think the issue of rape is a very sensitive issue. And given the circumstances surrounding rape, there are a number of reasons why a rape victim would not want to come out to say, "Oh, I've been raped,"
Yeah.
right? And in as much as we do not want to discourage rape victims from, you know, uh, carrying out the proper measures to ensuring that someone who has abused them sexually
Yeah.
is properly punished. At the same time, there needs to be a balance to these things. We need to balance things up in such a way that it protects, you know, someone who has been sexually abused, and it also discourages persons, or it discourages people from carrying out false accusations, right?
Yeah.
Although in the material facts nobody was accused, right? But then again, we need to strike a balance between these things. And I would like to state for the fact that rape is very difficult to prove, given that it happens most often than not in private. So there's little to no witness. It's usually your word against mine, or the word of the victim against the word of the uh, alleged rapist.
Yeah.
And also the method of preservation of evidence in circumstances of rape is also pretty much, or quite I won't say technical, but you need some level of knowledge to know what to do immediately such as happen. So given these circumstances and the knowledge gap, given the psychological nature of the offense, it's important a balance is
Yeah.
brought to bear. But beyond that, I wouldn't advise we go. Shouldn't go beyond that.
So you're saying that if she is punished, I just want to like, I want
Yeah.
to know your if she is punished, it does not give room, or it does not say that people who are actual victims cannot speak up.
It depends on the method profiled. So if she's punished in the sense that a separate trial is conducted to determine the veracity of her claims, and she's found to
Guilty.
have,
Okay.
concocted those statements, or those statements were not factual or they were not true, then punitive measures can be prescribed, right? But we shouldn't make it automative such that anybody who, you know, couldn't prove a rape case in court lied. No, there are several circumstances that could happen in court that could give rise to a situation where a victim, right? And in rape cases, it's a criminal matter, so the matter is handled by the state. And so, where the state cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. A or Mr. B committed the offense of rape, then he walks free. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Mr. A didn't really commit the offense. They just failed to prove before a court of competent jurisdiction that that offense was committed. So it's very important that a distinction is created between this. So let's not automate it that once you lose in court, you lied. No. A separate trial can be conducted to determine the veracity of the claims of the alleged victim.
Okay, so based on what you've just said right now,
Yeah,
I think in this case, for many people, for even people like me as well, I have in mind
yeah,
the cases of men who have been wrongly accused,
okay,
and in many ways
yeah,
they didn't clear them of the accusation. Some of them are being punished, and in some other cases these men happen to take their life at the extreme, and probably afterwards, or maybe years down the line or something, the woman comes out and say, oh, it was actually a lie, I was lying, do you understand? But the deed has been done. The man is probably dead, or has gone years in prison, or has been seriously punished, has probably lost his job,
yeah,
and a couple of other things. So to that 2%,
yeah,
10% of men who are actually falsely accused. Now imagine that, for example, in this Mirabel's case, this was pinned on a man, right? So for the 2% who are falsely accused when they didn't actually do it, and
yeah,
then they happen to take their life or go through severe treatment, heal treatment from, colleagues, from the
yeah,
office, from the family, and all of those things,
yeah.
what would you say is a means to defend yourself at the rise of such accusations if it happened?
So where there has been a false accusation, right? You can actually approach the court, you know, in an action against the other person for defamation that she has assassinated your character, and you have a character in the first place and she has made claims that are not true. So both of you are before a court of competent jurisdiction and the court has to determine, you know, whether or not one, you had the character, two, whether the claims made by that person has assassinated your character. And when that is done, you can, claim you can get back your name and you can even get damages for the wrongful accusation.
That has been,
Yeah,
laid on you. All right. So, because I said that to say that to many
yeah,
men who would probably, maybe not many men, so that little percentage of
yeah,
men that have gone through, such that would first think that my life is over, or think like literally that's the end of the world. All right, it can be a lot of tough. It's definitely tough, right?
yeah,
But it doesn't mean that you should lose yourself in the process, or think of say, oh, I want to take myself, I want to
yeah,
take my life rather, and just end things. And just an important information to pass across
yeah.
generally. And I was going to speak, since we're on this, speak into the roles of we the society,
Okay.
we the organizations, office spaces,
Yeah.
in terms of how we treat alleged, rapists.
Yeah.
Alleged. I mean, this person has not been proven to, have gone through this. Now, and I give a scenario. Say in, so I can't remember the name fully right now. Oh Lord, help me! I should probably get that details
Yeah.
and put out. But this young man, I think in the early 2000s, a Nigerian,
Okay.
top individual of high social class, alleged of rape, and in the entire process, before he was proven, not guilty,
Yeah.
had gone through a lot of backlash from the society, gone through a lot of stigma, so to say, from the society. What are the roles? What do we need to do as a society, as a people, not to, because we're very quick to judge.
Yeah.
We're very emotional, and I don't blame that. I think
Okay.
it's a thing, or it's a function of experiences that has been had, really, and people are just saying no, I want to react. Similarly is this case of, the young guys from Port Harcourt, I don't know, Uniport.
Yeah.
In this case, it was not even rape. I think it was stealing at the time. Three young
Oh
boys,
yeah. I think
promising young
the
boys.
Alu 4, right?
Yeah, in the university, they just wanted to collect their money, and then it
Yeah. They
happened
were
to be,
lynched and
yes, and they
right.
caught up in the entire situation. And it was after they had,
Yeah.
really dealt
Happened.
with them, and they died, these three young men, before they found out. So what is the role of society in ensuring that we're not just quick to judge? We have to ensure that whoever is going to take a, prosecution has to be the right person.
So I think our perspective needs to change in the way we view these situations. And when a person has been, and I'm speaking to the Nigerian jurisdictional landscape, when a person has been accused of committing an offense, right? That matter is now lis pendis, is now pending before a court of competent jurisdiction, and only the court can pronounce him guilty. And for the time being, the Constitution says he is innocent until proven otherwise. And until a court has pronounced him guilty, then he is innocent. So it's not left to anybody to say, oh, they're rapist or to assassinate his character. No. Let the court decide. Let the court give a verdict on this matter before we proceed to say he's a rapist or he has raped someone. For the time being, when a court of competent jurisdiction has not pronounced over the matter, he is innocent. So you wait, we wait for the prophecies of what the court will say. So we can only act on the prophecies of the courts and not go ahead at first instance to label anybody a rapist or a criminal or whatsoever. And if you do that, right, he can commence an action against you on defamation. You have defamed him. And there's even another aspect to it. If, for example, you know, the High Court, for example, finds him guilty, right, and he appeals, and the Court of Appeal, right, upturns the decision and finds him innocent, he can commence an action against the nominal complainant who alleged that he raped her in an action of a tortious action of false imprisonment. So basically our perspective towards these matters should change, right? There's an accusation. Why not wait for the courts to decide? You can't go on, assassinating the character of individuals
Yeah.
and later you hear, oh, it's not true. Or even if you hear it's true later, at that time when you had said it, it was not true. It was only after when the court had pronounced that you can say it's true.
Yeah.
So when a matter is before the court, let the court decide. We should not go on to assassinate people's character. Anybody, right, can be accused of the commission of any offense. And until the court has actually pronounced otherwise, then for that time being you are innocent, right? So let's change our attitude towards these issues, because most times what we see on social media is that once someone has been accused, all hell breaks loose. I said it, is a bad guy. You know, we see companies even fire staffs that have been accused. Some organizations withdraw ambassadorship deals, and the court has not pronounced. That is an area where we can change as people, right? And we can start from that. Change your perspective. Let the court decide. Once the court has decided, then we can, go with the decision of the court or allow him to exercise his right of appeal where necessary.
Solid. Thank you for that. And I'm going to, further push by saying this or giving this scenario. Now, this doesn't exactly, amount to rape or in any situation
Yeah,
in the case. But when you look at in recent times, there's this thing going on with, King Michi, VDM, and
oh
number
yeah,
of that. And what I really want to draw out from the story is also, I think, from this Kata FA beats and I think Pella, I'm going to, draw these two scenarios.
yeah,
So you look at how that um, King Michi came online drinking IPO in
yeah,
public, and even VDM, jokingly or sarcastically, so to say,
yeah,
replied by drinking IPO as well, saying,
yeah,
he's going to join now. Now you see someone like I think Kata Efe using stone to break the glasses or a car windshield, and then Pella also, breaking the car windshield and all of these things. Now I understand that there is, the social aspect to things of,
yeah.
how you're doing your thing, you're trying to make your money, you're creating what should be the role? Because particularly, let's focus more. I just wanted to throw more context into by Kata bit,
Yeah,
but look at King Michi, for example, and look at this. Then we'll come back to Mirabelle. I also saw another video of a young lady that accused a young student, and he responded by a lawsuit
yeah,
requesting for 15 million naira, and then she
yeah,
came back in public and apologized, saying that I beg, it
yeah,
wasn't true. Now I want us to dwell in on the role of agencies like federal agencies in curbing or curtailing the excesses of humans by trying to, do things that are not heard of in terms of defamation, in terms of preaching. Because I mean, any young lad, people 17, 16,
yeah,
have access to the internet. Imagine someone seeing a celeb drinking iPod that you probably have, poured on and like, and the person is dead, and you're like, I wanted to take my life before. Let me go and take my
yeah.
life. Do you understand? Then you literally just aided the top process around them and trying to get them to, go take their life and all of that. What should I believe there are laws anyways, but I feel like we have problems with implementation. But can you speak around agencies really curtailing these excesses that are wild on the internet and stuff?
Yeah, so prior to this time, the NBC, Nigerian Broadcasting, I think should be commission, yeah. Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, prior to this time, were quite active in censoring things that came up on the radio, that came up on television. So you couldn't use certain words, you couldn't say certain things on the radio.
Yeah.
If not, they will be censored,
Mm-hmm.
right? You couldn't say certain things in television programs, they will be censored. They won't be allowed to come on air. And now that we have a vast medium of communication and proliferation of content to the public, right? More needs to be done to regulate what people, right,
Say.
say, what people do, and publish online. In as much as we have freedom of speech, you know, freedom of association, we have the freedom to pull up a cam and say this and say that, right? But to an extent, we can be held liable for things we say,
Yeah.
right? But then again, more needs to be done in the area of uh, communicating to people that look, these things cannot be done, right? The NBC needs to sit up. We need to regulate what goes on social media. We need to regulate what people do because someone came online and he made a video saying, "Oh, look, his kids use social media." I mean, so imagine they come across those videos of
Yeah.
those people drinking hypo, So what are you trying to communicate to the kids? So more needs to be done in the area of regulation about what we see on social media. And you know, right now social media is a large pool, and it's going to be quite difficult to regulate these things. They have to partner with these social media companies to make sure that these things are actually done, right? And I think to an extent, I think Twitter, I'm not sure of, I think Twitter and Instagram, I'm not sure of other social media platforms. There are certain words you can't use. If they
Yeah,
take down your
okay. Yeah,
accounts,
yeah, they can declare
there are
account.
certain things that, not sure, you can't post. So there are certain things that you can't post, there are certain things that you can't, words you can't use on social media. If not, you risk being banned, right? But more needs to be done. And even on the issue of perception of persons who have been alleged to commit the offense of rape, the the Nigerian Orientation Agency needs to do more in the area of enlightening people on how, what did I say? The area of enlightening people, yeah, on what should be done when this and this happen. How do we react to things? Because our orientation about so many things, not even this issue alone, our orientation as people concerning several subjects needs to change. We need to change our orientation, right? More needs to be done in the area of information dissemination and communication.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, okay.
there's a lacuna that our agencies need to fill
Fill up.
in this respect.
All right, thank you very much. Speaking on where where you just ended, or starting from there in terms of orientation, this probably last question I want to ask is, as a lawyer,
Yeah.
if someone calls you or a client calls you and says, "I was just raped," what will be the next steps? Because I'm trying to pull up
Yeah.
an information, and I think you know where I'm going to
Yeah.
already. So, but like, what should be the next steps? As a lawyer, someone calls you right now and says, "I was just raped." What would be the next steps you advise the person to take?
So if someone calls me and says, "Look, oh, I've just been raped," the next thing we need to do is to preserve the evidence, right? So, first things first, we need documentary evidence, we need real evidence, and other forms of evidence that we can present before a court of competent jurisdiction. First things first, okay, so she needs to get a urine sample wherein we can detect uh, blood, semen, DNA, skin residue, and debris, right? And that's very first urine that she would have after such incident needs to be preserved. So she needs to keep that, right? Then, other pictorial evidence, such as probably, take pictures of, say, the site, the scene of the crime, take pictures of it. Then proper documentation needs to go on. So the first thing first is preservation of evidence.
Yeah.
So once we've been able to preserve these things in evidence, the urine, then the next thing is to, right, approach the police station, because like we said, once a crime has been committed, or once there's an allegation of the commission of a crime,
Yeah.
the police or the state, right,
Yes.
handles the matter. So the next thing is to make a police report, right, detailing in proper sequence, right,
How?
everything that occurred from A to Z, right? So, but the most important thing is that the evidence needs to be preserved ab initio from the beginning. Preserve the evidence. We need to make sure that is preserved properly. We make a police report. She writes a statement, and
Get to the
we can
clinic.
take
So
it
I
off
think
from
that's a
there.
very important one. While let me just add to say that while we understand totally that
Yeah,
not that every case can preserve an evidence or whatnot, but I mean, to a great percentage,
yeah,
or to a significant percentage, in these cases these things can be done, right? And just to help, You already mentioned that rape in itself, it's a difficult thing to prove. And I
Yeah.
think that's what fuels the reason why, on many occasions, we cannot pinpoint who, or we cannot hold exactly and say, oh, you actually committed this offense. As I do tell you by statistics that 90% of alleged rapists, are working scot free and stuff basically. So yeah, I think that's a very important, information for us to, pass across and all of that. But on the very light side as well, in terms of, how we react or informations around these things. Stigma is a real thing. I mean, you hear even sometimes mothers, nurses come say, "Ha, where were you? You wanna know where were you going to? You see the skirt that you're wearing,
Yeah.
yada yada yada, and all of those
Why
things.
did you go to his house?
Why did you go to his house, and all of those things. Um, these things as well are reasons why some individuals, just lock up. I want you to speak to the mentality that makes people ask these questions, and as well speak to people that are victims, saying that you don't have to be you don't have to allow such thoughts derail you from actually speaking up for you to find justice and stuff.
So, okay, so before we delve into that, I forgot to add. So, another thing that needs to be done
Okay.
where an alleged offense of rape has been committed is to carry out medical evaluation, right? She needs to present herself for medical evaluation to add to, other samples that have been taken in evidence or preservation of evidence. So the question you asked, it goes back to the issue of orientation, right?
Mm,
It goes back to the issue of orientation. And I'm of the view that, nobody should be raped
mm,
uh, on excuses of what she wore, her state of mind, where she went to. Everybody, as humans,
yeah.
deserve to be dignified, irrespective of the choices that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing under the bridge by 9 p.m.? As a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, your safety should be guaranteed by the government. So when you say, in as much as we are not encouraging people to put themselves in reasonable harm's way,
Mm,
right? These things should not suffice as an excuse, right? It's unfathomable that people present these things, you know, as excuses or to their minds valid forms of rebuttal
mm,
when rape has occurred. No. What you're wearing, where you were, what you drank, who you were hanging out with
mm-hmm.
should not suffice as an excuse for rape. And it goes to, there are a lot of terrible mentalities to these things, you know. There are some young people who believe, oh, when she comes, if she comes to my house, it means, oh, she's willing to do stuff with me. No, these things should change. These mentalities should change.
Mm,
Oh, there are people who believe that, oh, because she's wearing something skimpy, right? Or it means that she's inviting you to know. You see, the problem is why these things suffice as rebuttal, right? Is that there are terrible mentalities that different groups of persons or a couple of people have about these things.
mm,
Oh, waiting you go find for there. I mean, they are just terrible mental. I mean, it's a mentality problem. It's an orientation problem. You know, and we should actively dissuade
mm-hmm.
persons from thinking in that light because we are creating excuses. You know, for circumstances like that. There's no excuse. There's no excuse whatsoever,
Yeah.
right? There's no excuse. Yeah. offenses that are excusable by law. For example, we say, oh, unlawful homicide. It suggests that there's lawful homicide. There are circumstances where taking the life of a person is lawful, but there is no circumstance whatsoever
That says
where
you can
rape
rape
is
someone.
lawful, right? A military personnel can kill a terrorist, right? It's lawful. Has he killed somebody? Yes, it's lawful. But there is no circumstance, there is no law whatsoever that permits, right, such to happen. So it's, you know, it's unfathomable, it's barbaric, you know, it's unthinkable that humans subscribe to this terrible mindset. I can't just place my mind on it. It's just really terrible, you know.
Yeah, so I think we both come to a conclusion and agreement that orientation is needed, education is needed for the people generally around
Yeah,
these situations, and then there's a lot that our agencies,
yeah,
our federal organizations, federal agencies, individuals as well. We need to learn a couple of things and learn a number of things, and that way can we only also improve as a society.
yeah,
Improve as a nation, so to say. And I believe that with informations like this or educations like this, it really
yeah,
helps us to significantly reduce it. Well, I was reading through the statistics from the NBS, that's Nigeria Bureau of Statistics,
yeah.
recently, and then they were saying that within the year 2020 and I think 2023, the severity of rape cases jumped from about 64. That's
In
like
Nigeria.
in Nigeria, yes. That's whooping. That's
Yeah,
that's
what's going on?
that's a lot. So it just tells you that there is a lot of orientation that really needs to go down. And I think that there is so much more that our losses, our justice system needs to do in ensuring that these things drop. This crime rates drop. And I think it's by working hard. Yeah, while I know it's hard to prove,
Yeah,
there are cases where you really can actually do prove. Do you understand? Like just with extra mile, extra work, and you can probably just find out that okay, you actually did this. So it tells you that there is a lot of effort that still needs to go into this thing. And this is just a charge to let people understand that you need to hold accountable where you need to hold accountable.